Hey guys. So there is a TikTok, a woman made a TikTok and she was talking about how, excuse me, the difference between parenting with money versus parenting in poverty. And I haven't seen the original TikTok. I've just seen people commenting and agreeing or disagreeing. Mostly I've seen people agreeing. And so I wanted to put my opinion in there. It's just my opinion. You can think what you want, but this is coming from a person who raised a child in poverty, who raised my daughter in the hood the last 13 years, and on food stamps. And now she's in college, and now my life is different, and I've moved out of the hood. So here's the thing. First of all, when you are raising your child in poverty, you are always on survival mode. Always. There was times where I only had $5 or $10 to my name for 2 weeks. And that might sound like there's no way you made it. The only how I made it is because I was living in a place that went by my income. I didn't have a car note, probably didn't have car insurance at the time. I was driving a 95 Camry at the time. I had food stamps that saved us on the food front, but literally $10 was it. So there was no going anywhere extra. If I had gas in my car, I needed that gas to last for me to get to the job, wherever the job was. When you're raising a child in poverty, you don't have the luxury of not being stressed out. So your reaction to something that could be very small, your reaction might be terrible because you're tired, you're stressed, you don't know where the next money is coming for you to get from A to B. I think the worst thing was when she wanted to play sports. Luckily, I was in a situation where we were she was in a school district that helps out children whose parents don't have the funds for that, because just trying out for sports, and when she went to high school, was almost $300 to try out. She didn't have to make the team, and I wasn't getting any money back. So school system wise, I put her in a better school district that I had to get her to on my own. But I knew if she was in the school district where we lived, her education wouldn't be as great. That's something right there. You have to understand that everything is different when you have money. People always want to say, oh, it's not about money, it's not about money. No, it's not entirely about money, but here's the thing. There's a lot of things that she couldn't have or couldn't do if I don't have the money. So although it's not all about money, I can raise her in this great loving home, but if I don't have money to get her to school, to feed her, to clothe her, to pay for extracurricular activities, her life is going to look different. That's just what it is. One thing that I wanted to make sure of for my daughter is to let her know that living in poverty wasn't normal. This isn't going to be her norm. This is not how life is supposed to be. This is not how I want your life to be as you get older. This is temporary where we are in life right now. Because a lot of times, what you do in life and how you live your life, your children mimic, or your children see it and they either do the same thing or they go complete opposite direction. And some things I want my daughter to definitely follow, and some I don't. She saw me put myself through college. She's now in college. And college is not for everyone. If she had chose not to go, that would have been fine, but we would have had to sit down and map out a plan for her life. Because what we're not going to do is sit back and get pregnant, do all these. We would have had to come up with a plan. Because I know for sure she's not the type to want to live in poverty. My child has had expensive taste since she was 2, okay? If there's an expensive toy or a cheaper toy, she's always going to go for the more expensive toy. It was always She just had expensive taste. One thing that people don't get also is that the reason why a child's life is better when a parent has more money is, like I said, the parent is constantly thinking about money. That's all that's on your mind, because everything takes money. What we do on the weekends for fun, it's going to cost money. Extracurricular activities. You're worried, like every time my child would come to me about something that she wanted, I'm always like, okay, can I afford this? One thing that used to piss me off is that she had a parent who would give her things that didn't work or were broken. And because I felt bad because that parent did that, I would go buy her something that did work, like a tablet. Was that in my budget? Absolutely not. So one thing that you have to understand is that there's less worry with money. If something got torn up or broken and you have money to replace it, you're not going to care as much. I'm not going to care as much about that glass you broke, or I don't know, something that you tore up that we needed, because I can replace it. When you can't, you're like, that makes you angry. You're upset because you're like, oh, well, don't know when I'm going to be able to replace that, or, well, one less glass for us to have. You get what I'm saying here? Unfortunately, yes, it probably sounds bad to some that money makes you a better parent, but I think we all know, excuse me, that money makes the world go round. And if you don't have money, there are many things that you just can't do for your child or can't make happen. And it can be the smallest thing. The smallest thing. You guys, you're probably thinking of like, oh, so they can't have whatever toy, or they can't have, but you have to think about this. They were talking about cutting off sweets from food stamps. If food stamps is all you lived off of, and you couldn't afford to buy a cake, and you were going to get that cake from the grocery store for your child's birthday, no cake for your kid. If you're in poverty, or if you're on food stamps and they tell you can't buy any sweets with your food stamp. You know what I'm saying? It's things that you just, if you've never been in poverty, you're not going to think about it. It's not going to be a thought. You think, oh, just go do this, just go do that. It's never that simple. I had one child and it wasn't that simple. Imagine people with 3, 4, 5. I had one, and I had to make the decision, okay, either I work 3 jobs and never see my child and have someone else raise her, or I make this work what I can to make us have a good life. Because I have to say, she didn't really know we were in poverty or living in the hood until she got older, because I made her life as good as I could possibly make it. One thing is showing your child when you're in poverty. Like I showed her, I still worked. I put myself through school. I still worked out. I still took care of myself. I still was worried about her health, my health, still went to the dentist. Like there's things that you have to show your child that are still of importance, even though you're in poverty. And sometimes those can fall by the wayside depending on, do you have insurance? Do you have a ride to get to these places? I was blessed to have a 95 Camry that lasted me 10 years. Them Camrys, I'm trying to tell you. But if I wouldn't have had that car, we lived somewhere where the bus line, we were far out from everything. And you had to take 2 buses to get everywhere. That also makes life more complicated. Overall, money allows experiences. And there's things that your child's just not going to experience if you don't have the money. And that makes a difference on how their life turns out, their memories, what they grow up and think they can do or can't do. You know what I'm saying? I think if you've never lived in poverty, you probably don't have much to go on. You're probably just going off maybe what you see from a distance. But I've lived it. I've come out of it. I'm not rich. Now, I will say, once I'm in my millions, life is definitely going to be even more different. But like now, we're able to take better vacations. We're able to, she's in college. She's like, Mom, I'm a broke college student. I said, well, you're not completely broke, because if you need something, you can call me and I will Cash App you. Back before, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have looked out for her. If she was going to college, or before, she might not even went to college, because I didn't have the funds to help her. Because although the school is helping, they only help so much. And although people think 18 is grown, to me, she's still a child. She's still my child, and she's still a child. And as long as I can help her, I'm always going to. So that's my take on a parent raising a child with money and a parent raising a child in poverty. Big difference. A child who is raised with money is definitely going to live a better life. And I actually lived both. When I was younger and my mom was a single parent, we lived in the hood and we didn't have as much money. Excuse me. I don't remember those times that much, but I know that they existed. But then, excuse me, later on, my mom got married and life changed and she was able to be a stay-at-home mom. And there was a huge difference. A huge difference. My mom, I went from having to go to work with my mother at the hospital to my mom being a stay-at-home mom and being there when I got home from school. So there's a difference. All right, that's all I got for today. You guys can comment below how you feel about it. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.